Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're really tackling a fascinating subject. I think a lot of people know the name, but maybe not the whole story.
Yeah.
Larry Page. So you know him, maybe he's the Google guy.
Yeah.
But we're going beyond that today to explore, I think, what really made him tick and led to his incredible success.
Yeah.
That's the moonshot mindset.
Yeah.
So, picture this, right? Silicon Valley way back when,
Right.
and you've got a young Larry Page facing this world that's, just drowning in information chaos.
Right.
No Google, no easy way to find anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem he set out to solve, but not with some, small tweak or improvement.
Yeah.
He went for a solution so audacious, it almost seemed impossible at the time.
Well, and what's interesting is, he wasn't just building another search engine. He had this vision to organize the world's information.
Yeah.
A concept so bold it sounded, kind of crazy at the time. And that right there, that's the essence of a moonshot, setting a goal that's not just 10% better, it's aiming for 10 times better than what already exists.
So it's not just about aiming high, it's about aiming for something radically different.
Yeah.
Almost unimaginable.
Right.
Like a complete paradigm shift, not just incremental improvements.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that translate from, the world of tech to, say, everyday life?
Well, I think the principles are universal. I mean, think about Google X, their innovation lab.
Yeah.
They weren't just focused on software. They were tackling self-driving cars, renewable energy, even life extension.
Wow.
So it's really about applying that moonshot thinking to solve, huge challenges, not just for profit, but for a positive impact on the world.
It makes you wonder, what would a moonshot even look like for someone who's not building the next Google?
Yeah.
Could a teacher or a social worker or an artist even apply this kind of thinking?
Absolutely. I mean, a teacher might envision a radically new education system that personalizes learning for every student.
Right.
A social worker might aim to create a community support network that eliminates homelessness.
Yeah.
I mean, the field doesn't matter. It's about embracing that uncomfortably exciting feeling of pushing boundaries to achieve something truly extraordinary.
Uncomfortably exciting. I love that phrase.
Yeah.
It really captures that blend of fear and exhilaration that comes with stepping outside your comfort zone. It's that gut feeling that tells you you're onto something big, even if it seems impossible.
Exactly. And Page himself embodied this. I mean, his drive, it wasn't just about being a coding genius. It was about this insatiable curiosity, a relentless pursuit of knowledge, and a refusal to just accept the status quo.
Yeah.
I mean, he famously said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man.
So, in a way, moonshot thinking requires a certain level of unreasonable ambition. You need to be willing to challenge the conventional wisdom to be the one saying, what if we could actually do this seemingly impossible thing?
Yeah.
But what about when those unreasonable ideas, hit a wall?
Yeah.
How did Pace deal with setbacks?
Well, that's where resilience comes in. Take the development of self-driving cars. I mean, it was met with skepticism, regulatory hurdles, even fear. But instead of giving up, Page and his team saw those obstacles as opportunities to learn to adapt and to refine their approach.
So it's not just about being bold. It's about being persistent, being willing to iterate and learn from mistakes.
Right.
But wouldn't that require a certain kind of culture, a willingness to embrace risk and even failure?
You're hitting on a key aspect of Page's leadership. He fostered a culture at Google where experimentation and what he called smart risk-taking were encouraged.
Yeah.
He understood that true innovation requires allowing for the possibility of failure, seeing it not as an endpoint but as a stepping stone.
This is where it gets really interesting because, most of us are conditioned to avoid failure to play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
But Page seems to be suggesting that true breakthroughs happen when you're willing to embrace the unknown, to step outside that comfort zone. But how did he actually implement this in Google's work culture?
One great example is the famous 20% time policy, where Google employees were actually encouraged to dedicate 20% of their time to passion projects,
Yeah.
even if they seemed totally unrelated to their core work.
Unrelated to what they were hired to do.
Exactly. And this led to some pretty amazing innovations like Gmail and Google News,
Wow.
proving that sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas come from these unexpected places. And it wasn't just about giving people free time. It was about empowering them to take ownership of their ideas, to build prototypes, to test and iterate without, the fear of immediate judgment.
That's a far cry from, I think, the typical corporate culture where failure is often seen as a career killer,
Yeah.
right? It sounds like Page was intentionally trying to create an environment where this uncomfortably exciting feeling could actually flourish.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that with the need for, actual results?
It's a delicate balance for sure, and it's not to say that, every experiment at Google was a success.
Right.
But by fostering a culture of open communication, data-driven decision-making, rapid prototyping, they were able to quickly identify which moonshots were worth pursuing and which ones needed to be adjusted or, even abandoned.
So it's not just about
Yeah.
blind faith in these crazy ideas.
Right.
It's about having a framework for testing those ideas and learning from the results, whether they're positive or negative.
Exactly.
But this still feels very specific to Google, right? A company with vast resources and this, unique culture. How can someone working in a more traditional setting even begin to apply these principles?
It's about adopting the mindset even if you can't, replicate the exact structures. So start by asking yourself, what's the 20% time equivalent in my own work?
Okay.
Could you carve out an hour a week to explore a new idea, to connect with people outside your immediate team, to experiment with a different approach to a problem?
It's about finding those little pockets of uncomfortable excitement
Oh, I guess.
within your existing routine, those opportunities to push yourself beyond what's expected.
Yeah.
But it's also about having the courage to share those ideas,
Yeah.
right? Even if they seem unreasonable at first.
Exactly. And that requires building trust with your colleagues, creating an environment where it's safe to brainstorm, to challenge assumptions, to even respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas come from those moments of friction, those clashes of perspectives.
It reminds me of that famous Amazon quote, disagree and commit.
Yes.
Even if you don't fully agree with a proposed moonshot, you commit to supporting it and giving it a fair shot.
Right.
But let's be honest, not every moonshot is going to be a Google-sized success story. How do you deal with the inevitable setbacks and even outright failures that come with this kind of ambitious thinking?
Well, it goes back to what we talked about earlier about resilience. Page himself has spoken about the importance of viewing failure not as a defeat, but as a learning opportunity. He's even suggested that companies should celebrate their biggest screw-ups.
Wow.
As a way of normalizing risk-taking and fostering a culture of continuous learning.
So it's about reframing our relationship with failure.
Seeing it not as something to be ashamed of, but as a valuable data point. A signal that we need to adjust our course or maybe even pivot to a completely different approach. But wouldn't that require a certain level of emotional maturity? A willingness to detach from our ego and see feedback as an opportunity for growth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It requires a conscious effort to cultivate that growth mindset.
Yeah.
To view challenges as opportunities for learning rather than threats to our self-worth. But the rewards can be immense, both personally and professionally.
It makes you wonder, how did Page himself develop that kind of resilience? Was it something he was born with, or did he cultivate it over time? And more importantly, can we learn from his journey to build that same kind of mental fortitude in ourselves?
There's definitely a combination of nature and nurture at play. I mean, Page was known for his intellectual curiosity from a young age, always tinkering with electronics, challenging conventional thinking. But his experiences at Google, particularly those early days of facing skepticism and overcoming those technical hurdles, undoubtedly shaped his approach to risk and resilience. So it wasn't just about his, innate brilliance. It was about the challenges he faced and the lessons he learned along the way.
Right.
Which suggests that resilience isn't just a personality trait. It's a skill that can be developed through experience, through facing those uncomfortably exciting moments and learning how to navigate them.
And it's a continuous process. Even someone like Larry Page, who has achieved, extraordinary success, likely still faces moments of doubt and uncertainty. But it's about having the tools and the mindset to navigate those challenges, to learn from them, and to emerge stronger on the other side.
It brings us back to this idea of the moonshot mindset.
Yeah.
Not just being about setting these audacious goals, but about cultivating that inner strength and the emotional intelligence to weather the inevitable storms that come with pursuing those goals. But how do we actually translate this into actionable steps?
Yeah.
How can our listener who might be feeling inspired but also a bit overwhelmed start applying these principles to their own life? It feels like we've been talking about this moonshot mindset as this grand, almost mythical concept. But how do we bring it down to earth? How can our listener who might be, dealing with a mountain of emails and laundry actually start thinking and acting like a Larry Page, even in a small way?
I think it's about taking that grand concept and breaking it down into manageable steps. I mean, remember, even Google started as a seemingly impossible idea,
Uh,
scribbled on a whiteboard.
right.
It's about identifying those uncomfortably exciting opportunities that exist within your current reality.
So instead of trying to solve world hunger tomorrow,
Mm.
maybe it's about tackling a project at work that, everyone else is deemed too difficult or time consuming.
Right.
Or maybe it's about finally committing to that creative project you've been putting off for years.
Exactly. It's about pushing your own personal boundaries, whatever those may be. And it doesn't have to involve quitting your job or moving to Silicon Valley. It can start with
Oh,
a simple question. What's one thing I could do this week that scares me a little, but also excites me a lot?
that's a great question to ask yourself. It's about finding that sweet spot between fear and excitement, that place where growth and innovation happen. But it's also about being realistic. Not every moonshot attempt is going to be a home run.
Hmm.
How do we deal with the inevitable setbacks and even outright failures?
It goes back to embracing that uncomfortable excitement. Discomfort is often a sign that you're pushing yourself, that you're learning and growing. And remember, failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process.
So it's about reframing our relationship with failure, seeing it not as a sign of weakness, but as valuable feedback. It's about asking ourselves, what did I learn from this experience? How can I apply those lessons to my next moonshot attempt?
Precisely. And this is where Page's emphasis on data-driven decision-making comes in. It's not just about blindly chasing your passions. It's about gathering information, testing your assumptions, and being willing to adjust your course based on the results.
So it's about being both passionate and pragmatic. It's
Mhm.
about having that bold vision, that uncomfortably exciting goal, but also having a plan for how to get there, a process for navigating the inevitable twists and turns along the way.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. One of the key takeaways from Paige's story is the importance of surrounding yourself with a team of brilliant and passionate people who share your vision and are willing to challenge you to be your best.
So it's about finding your tribe, those people who will support you, encourage you, and help you stay accountable to your moonshot goals. But it's also about being that kind of person for others, being a source of support and inspiration for those around you.
Exactly. Because in the end, the moonshot mindset isn't just about individual achievement. It's about creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to think bigger, to aim higher, and to make a positive impact on the world.
And that brings us back to Larry Page's powerful quote, always work hard on something uncomfortably exciting. It's a call to action for all of us, an invitation to step outside our comfort zones and pursue those goals that truly matter to us, those moonshots that light us up and make us believe that anything is possible.
So to our listener, we leave you with this. What's your uncomfortably exciting goal? What's that moonshot you've been carrying inside you, waiting for the right moment to launch the time? Is now embrace the challenge, embrace the discomfort, and watch what incredible things you can achieve.